Welcome to the Town Talks, the show where a panel of students from Oakland Public Schools talk to Oakland icons about all things Oakland. We're here to discuss the past, present, and future of our amazing town and creative solutions to the issues we face. Our guests today are Moody, Director of Social Impact for the Golden State Warriors, and Elisha Greenwell, Founder and CEO of the Black Joy Parade. Welcome. We are so proud to have you. Now here's our host, Richie Nunez. Take it away, Richie.
Thank you so much, Koyo. Welcome, everyone, to episode number 2 of the Town Talks. My name is Richie Nunez. I also host a podcast called La Segunda. It's such an honor to be facilitating this conversation between Oakland Unified School District students and Elisha Greenwell and Moody. We're actually going to start off with some introductions. Elisha, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm the founder and the CEO of Black Joy Parade. I started Black Joy Parade, I guess 6 years ago now, because I had left Oakland for a while and I came back. And when I came back, I realized the only time that the Black community was gathering in a big group in thousands was during protest. And it felt like we were being defined by our anger sometimes. We were defined by what we were pushing up against, and those things are super important. That's how we change policy. But our community is so much more than that. And Black Joy Parade was created as the antithesis of a protest. Could we get together in thousands just to celebrate because we're dope and we're beautiful and we're creative and we have so much to offer? And so we started with just a little idea. Can we have a parade for Black people? And it had no name yet. And then we thought of the Black Joy Parade. And exactly what it says here, it's a hyper-positive celebration. The hyper-positive is really important. This isn't a place that asks anything of you. You don't have to dress a certain way. You don't have to bring certain people. It's just for you to come and be celebrated as your beautiful, amazing Black self. This will be our 5th annual Black Joy Parade on February 27th. The very first year we started, we had 18,000 people come. The second year, we had almost 20, and then 25,000 in 2020. And so who knows how many people we'll have this year. We also welcome over 200 Black vendors. So that's Black small businesses who get to come and sell their wares or services, and they do really well at Black Joy Parade because they're creating for their community, and then they get to sell and offer and be artists for their community as well. What else can I say about it? I think that's about it. It's born and raised here in Oakland, and it'll always stay in Oakland. It's a very special thing, and I'm just so proud to be here to talk to you guys about it because you're half the reason we do this. And I think with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ayana to introduce herself.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here with you all. I love this picture. It just reminds me so much of my youth, and I think that when I think about my life and my trajectory, it's been through a series of relationships, and so I'll talk to you about the important relationships in my life that got me to this point, and is the what and why of why I'm here. My mom is like my best friend. I think she's the best person in the world, and she's like so motivational. And so when I think about why I get up every day and do the work that I do, I think about her and all of her experiences that got me to this point. I also think about my grandmother. She was literally the best person in the entire world. I think about, born and raised in Oakland. And so that picture was taken on my grandmother's steps on 80th and Bancroft. And I think about just meeting friends and community members and how just they showed me so much love and poured so much love into me. And that's the same love I hope to always give back to other people. The picture in the middle are my parents. They are amazing. I think I wanted to make sure I included my dad on there too, because my dad has always taught me to be strong and that there's going to be trials and tribulations that come, but to always just be a fighter. And so I wanted to make sure I included that. And then the last one really quickly, but my kindergarten teacher, I think about relationships. My kindergarten teacher was one of the first people that believed in me. I started kindergarten and I didn't know how to read. And my parents were freaked out. They're like, you don't know how to read and you are in kindergarten. What are we going to do? And everyone was like, well, maybe she needs to be, held back. Maybe she needs to have these remedial classes. But this teacher just believed in me and thought that I could do it and worked with me after school, before school. By the time I finished kindergarten, I was reading at a 3rd grade reading level. And she named me Student of the Month, Miss Mantos. And so I always give credit. She is now deceased, but just give credit for people that believed in you and just make sure that, you can. And so thinking about the teachers in your life are super, super important. High school. Then I got to high school, got fun. I'm not going to lie, I was popular in high school. I won 9th grade here. I won Duchess, and so that's in the yearbook. A friend sent that to me for this. I was like, send me the picture, because I have no clue where my yearbooks are. But this is when I like figured out who I wanted to be, and like really was like, I am outspoken, I am like loud, I am like friendly, and like I feel like I became, so many friends in high school. The other picture is a picture of my best friend. This is when we were in New York. She's a year older than me. So my senior year in high school, she went to New York, and I was like, I'm going to New York after high school. I want to do college in New York. This is where I wanted to go. And then things got a little different. I went to UCLA because when I got into all my New York schools, my parents cried. And my parents were like, you cannot move to New York. We need you here. We want you to be close. And so I got into Cal, and I was like, that is way too close. My parents are going to come see me every weekend, and I don't want them to. And so the medium was like, you can go to UCLA. So I was like, cool, I'm going to UCLA. And I think about the experiences that I had at UCLA. The first picture is one of the first pictures I ever took at UCLA as a freshman, and some of the friends that I made. And then the last picture is from senior year. I was way more cooler, as you can see in that picture, at one of our tailgate games. And then I moved to New York because that was my dream. I was always going to move to New York because that's something that I wanted to do. And, in LA, I had spent some time working with students in education, worked at Inglewood High School, worked at Compton High School, learned about education and equity, learned about what was true for students in LA. And I was like, there's something similar about what's happening in Los Angeles for Black kids, for students of color, for Latinx kids. And it's similarly happening in Oakland. And I was like, I want to learn what's happening in New York City. So I moved to New York City. This is the first team I ever managed ever. They were incredible. And we worked with students in every borough in New York City. We worked with about 10,000 students and made sure that they had a path to college and career success. And it was an incredible job. I credit a lot of my success now is to this job. It was so formidable into my career now. And the picture on the other side is New York is a very expensive city like Oakland. And I was a waitress all throughout graduate school when I went to Columbia University. And there was an old lady that used to come, and I never knew her, but she's coming to my restaurant. She used to sit with me and talk to me. She used to pray for me every time she came to the restaurant, and she used to come once a week. And first it was like weird because like you don't know me, but then it was like she became like a surrogate grandmother for me. And when I graduated from Columbia, she always said, you can do it, you can do it. And then she gave me a card and wrote the most profound message and also gave me a little cash, which was nice. And then I graduated. And I graduated from Columbia, which is a super proud moment for my family. And I think about all the relationships and people that I've met while on my journey at Columbia. And then this was a team of folks in New York City that I worked with. The woman that's closest to me towards the middle, she was my boss, the first Black woman boss I've ever had, and was the best boss to date I've ever had in my life. She was transformative. She always taught me, you follow up and you follow through. Like that is your motto in life. People will respect you. People would admire you. You're going to get far if you know how to follow up and follow through. And so I think about that, and I take that adage to every part of my life. And I'm telling you all, anything you do, follow up with it and follow through. People will cling to you. Elisha knows this too. With Black Joy Parade, there's so many things she has to count on people. You have to be able to count on people, follow up and follow through. And so I think about like that part of my life and how like this is like when I became a woman, I feel like this is the moment. I look at this picture and I'm like, wow, so much stuff has changed. So fast forward, I moved to Oakland. I knew I loved to work with young people. And so that's what I did. I managed college and career readiness specialists in Oakland Unified School District. So Chris, I worked at Oakland High, which was very, very exciting. I got to work with Edna Brewer middle school. I got to work with all the high schools in Oakland, which is great. And then I started working in the mayor's office, and I was like, young people need to be talking to elected officials about what they need. You all know best how you want to be supported, what support systems you need, what funding you need to make sure that you can show up at school and just focus on learning. And so this was a picture in the mayor's office. That's her long oval table, and we had students that actually presented ideas to Mayor Schaaf and other city council members there, which was a proud moment for me and the students that were there. And this is another picture too with Mayor Schaaf and a bunch of folks had become like friends and extended family to me through working with them for a great deal of time. So this is at a celebration. And then all good things come to an end. That's a picture of me if you go back. My last day at the Oakland Unified School District, they threw a nice, good party for me because I got a call saying, do you want to join the Warriors? And I was like, yeah. So I joined the Warriors. These are just a couple pictures that, relationships matter. Britt, who's on there, is one of my favorite people that I get to work with each and every day. We were at Castlemont High School doing a volunteer event there, which was incredible. when the George Floyd protests started, I took a group of students down to San Francisco City Hall to rally and protest, and so that's a group of us there. And then McClimate's High School in West Oakland, they came to the Warriors for a field trip and did a lot of career readiness stuff, and I had the chance to oversee that project, and this has been impactful for the students that were able to come. More pictures of just me at the Warriors, and I think I purposely didn't put any pictures of players. I think players are really important to our brand, but the people that you meet, the community members that you touch, that is what you care most about for me being a team member at the Warriors. And like I said, relationships matter, and building relationships with people is something that's super important to me. And if you don't remember anything that I said, it's follow up and follow through, and relationships matter.
Ayana, Elisha, thank you so much for the introductions. We're going to start our conversation now. We're going to focus on 3 topics. The first being the impact of Oakland on your careers. The second being your creative process, especially when it comes to community building. And then the third is just youth impact, broader youth impact. What can these youth here do now to make an impact in the community? Koyo, why don't you go ahead and start us off with the first question?
Well, my question is for both of you, how to use your careers and who you are as people to help young people like forge their own path into their careers and beyond, and then make change in their communities while they're doing that.
Yeah. I think that there's this quote that you can't be what you can't see. I don't know if you've heard that quote, but it's my absolute favorite. And I think part of inspiring the next generation, or honestly inspiring the older generation to get with it sometimes, is to be that change, is to show that example and show them it's possible. I grew up in Sacramento. My mom is Japanese and my dad is Black, and there wasn't a lot of kids that looked like me, so I doubt anyone ever thought that I would create a Black Joy Parade. That was so far from my reality. I didn't grow up with a lot of Black people or Japanese people. I didn't grow up with any community organizers. I didn't grow up with anybody who did big events, any of the work that I do. And so I think it took me longer to find that path than it would have had I known one person, right? One person that could at least give me some advice. And so I try to think about the work that I do. Would I want someone to look at me and emulate this work? Can someone be inspired by this? And if not, I probably shouldn't be doing it. And if so, I should forge forward, because it's not just about the work I'm going to get to do, but about the work that somebody else might be inspired to do. And that work might be completely different than I want to do, because you never know, what's going to inspire somebody. But I really do think a lot about that. And then the second thing is like creating access. I think that when you're young, like a lot of the challenges you have is like you don't have money, or I didn't have money, right? You don't got a credit card, you don't know nobody, like people, you can't get around. It's hard to kind of like make your way on your own, and providing people access to that. And so specifically with Black Joy Parade, it is a free event on purpose. We want to make sure that anybody can come, that anybody can have access to the beauty and the art and the magic and the vendors and all this stuff, because like I said, you never know who's going to do something as a result of that experience, but they can't do it if they can't afford to come, right? They can't do it if they can't get a ride there, they can't. So we try really hard to make sure that anyone can access it, and especially young people.
Yeah, similar to Elisha, I think I knew early on that I wanted to be a person for others. I think that was important to me. My grandmother, who I talked about, used to always say, like, you want to be a person with others. And she always used to say, you get more bees with honey. And so, like, thinking about that through my life, I always knew that I wanted to inspire people. I never knew my life was going to be in education. Honestly, I thought I was going to be a lawyer. That's why I went to UCLA, was to be a lawyer. And I just started working with young people and realized, like, that is what I want to do. And then I did direct service for so long, like being in the classroom and working with folks. And I was like, this is great, but I also want to push the envelope. And like Elisha was saying, like, sometimes we got to get older people to get with the program a little bit. And so I was like, if I can influence the way people start to think about young people and look at every young person of like, this could be my child, I think we get to a better place, because what you want for your child the best, and we should want that for every young person living in Oakland. And so I think that's what I tried and are trying to bring to every kind of opportunity that I get.
Lila, did you have a question you want to ask?
Yeah, this one's for Ayana. I was wondering if being born in Oakland played a major role in where you are right now, both in your career as a person.
Yeah, no, 100%. I'm super Oakland proud. I think, and I talked about this recently with a group of young people, growing up being from Oakland, when I moved to LA and was with different people, I was actually ashamed to be from Oakland, because when you say Oakland, people are like, oh, I'm scared. Like, are they gonna rob me, shoot me? Like, what's going on in Oakland? And I think that I suppressed being from Oakland because I was like, oh, I don't want to seem too harsh to people. So I used to be like, oh, I'm from the Bay Area. And then when I got older, I was like, there is beauty from saying that I'm from Oakland. Like the fact that the Black Panther Party was founded here, the fact that, you know, our Vice President Kamala Harris was from here. Like, we have so many reasons to celebrate and be excited about our humanity and who we are. It's like made me so much just more proud to say that I'm from Oakland. So it totally influences who I am. I still live in Oakland to this day. I made it a decision not to move anywhere else because it makes, when I walk outside every day, I don't feel detached from issues that are happening in Oakland because I live here. I have to see it, I have to breathe it, I have to look at it, and it makes me just try just that much harder because I'm living amongst my community members. So it's a huge part of my DNA. That's a great question.
And Elisha, I actually wanted to extend that over to you. I know you said you were born in Sacramento, but what role has
Actually, was
Oakland
born
played?
in Carmel.
Oh, sorry.
I was born in Carmel. I was raised in Sacramento, and then I spent my life here.
What is it about Oakland?
Man, it's just this like magical place. I can't describe it. Like Ayana was saying, like once I moved here, I never thought I just was like, this is it, you know. And I've been to 40 countries in my life. I've been to like more than a third of the world, and it's here. And people, I don't know what it is. I think it's like how many different cultures come together here. I think maybe it's had to forge its own like juju or something because it's always been outside of San Francisco. But, you know, we get a lot of requests from people saying, oh, you should bring Black Joy Parade to Atlanta or DC or whatever. And I'm like, Oakland can have nice things, and this is ours, you know, and we couldn't create what is Black Joy Parade somewhere else. It is what it is because it's here, and it's one of those indescribable things. And I think when you tell people from LA and stuff, they don't get it till they come and they spend time, and then they're like, oh, okay, you know. And I don't think Oakland gets as much credit as it deserves for like creating culture and dance and language and business and all kinds of things. So if, you know, I'm not from here, but if I can do anything to like shine a light on it, I absolutely would, because it's very special to me.
Was your question?
So my question is, what hardships did you have as a Black woman in Oakland, like to get where you are now?
You wanna, like, where do we start?
That's a very deep question.
Yeah.
I think I'll take it out of the context of just Oakland. I think being a Black woman in corporate America and the corporate world there's just challenges because there's not many people that look like you that are decision makers. And I think oftentimes our voices are not heard in the same way. Or you all, I mean, you live in the world. It's not even just corporate America. Like when a woman says something and a man says something the exact same way, the woman just said something, but he's a little louder, so it sounds more intelligent, that kind of thing. Those things still happen in the work world. And so just navigating and finding your own voice and like learning when you want to, like I learned early on in my career, like I don't want to die on every hill. Like if I get mad at everything that happens that I feel like shouldn't happen, I'm not going to be able to get up every day and do my work because I'm going to be depressed. And so for me, I have the things that I really care about. And I'm like, if these 3 things or 4 things that I value a lot, if I feel like it's tripping into the things that I value, then I'm going to speak up and I'm going to voice my opinion. And I'm going to make my opinion known. But if it's not about those things, and sometimes I'm like, I'm going to let it go, right? And so I can move on and focus on the bigger, broader picture of like the work that I'm narrowly focused on doing. And so I think it's finding that. But I think it's also powerful to be a woman in the room because you have an obligation as a Black woman to bring other Black women with you, right? So I always think, you know, Shirley Chisholm always say, you know, if you're not invited to the table, bring a folding chair. I think that's totally the way you should be thinking about being a Black woman, being a woman of like, yes, you might be the only woman right now in the space. And when you leave the space, you better make sure there's 2, 3, 4, 5 more Black women. And so that's encouraging to me.
+1, for sure. I also think I struggled to be allowed to be who I authentically am, because I think there's a lot of stereotypes, especially as you start to get into corporate America. They want you to be bossy. They assume that you're controlling. They like think you should be stylish. And you are probably all those things a little bit, you know, but those things don't define you. And I think it can be hard to like, it can be easy to just sink into that stereotype and just become what everybody, because you feel like you can thrive that way. Like they'll listen to you if you're that way. If you sort of like appease their stereotypes of the world, then maybe you'll get ahead. And that's not true, but also that's damaging to you, right? Because then you're not allowed to be who you are. And once I found my authentic voice and said, no, I'm not just any Black woman, I'm Elisha, right? Then I was allowed to really do the things I wanted to do and be creative and shine and collaborate and develop the things that were really unique to me and what I was interested in doing without feeling kind of like trapped by the stereotypes that were placed on me. And I think that can be true of a lot of people, not just women, not just Black women. I think that that's true of Asian American men. That's definitely true of Hispanic, all kinds of people. So I would just encourage you as soon as you can and I know it's so hard, but find that confidence to not fall into the traps that everybody else thinks you should be. But who do you really want to be and what do you really want to pursue and go after that?
Al, did you have a question you wanted to?
Yeah, being women of color, this is for both of you, being women of color, what were some challenges you had living here in Oakland, and what were some challenges you had growing up in a diverse world that we live in right now?
Yeah, similar question a little bit. I think of really similar things. It's also, you are going to be the first at something.
Mm-hmm.
And that's hard. It doesn't matter if you're the first person to taste the cheeseburger because you don't know if it's good. You know what I mean? That's hard. And then it gets harder when it's really big things. It's the first to try something. It's first to speak up in a meeting. It's the first to, that just takes bravery. And unfortunately, as people of color, we are those people. Our ancestors were those people, and our kids will be those people, unfortunately, too. And I think that just takes constant confidence and bravery that doesn't come easy, but I know that everybody has it. So that's something, like I was saying before, I just have had to build over time, and I hope I'm pretty good at it now, but I still struggle, if I'm honest,
Yeah, same. I think growing up in Oakland, not having a lot of mentors that you could follow a career path very clearly, like Elisha was saying, I want to, do this, and not having that one person that can say, hey, these are the 5 people you should talk to, or this is the major you should major to in college, not necessarily having those accessible pathways can be a hurdle and a burden. But I always think, your journey is your journey for a reason. And sometimes it takes you maybe longer to get to there, because if you got it faster, maybe you wouldn't appreciate it. And I know for me, sometimes I'm I needed to go through this journey so I can teach myself how to get there, so I can also tell somebody else how to get to that route. But then I appreciate where I am even more. So I try not to think about life in a deficit. I always try to think in an asset mindset of what are the positives that I learned from that. And so that's one of the things. It's how do we model behavior?
I don't know about you guys, but my parents have worked the same job their whole life. They've never switched. They have hobbies. They like wine and they go, you know what I mean? They used to go to church and stuff, but they don't have side gigs and side creative outlets, and they never switch paths. And I remember the first job I got out of college, I was only there for 3 years, and then I left, and my dad was like, what are you doing? You just started your career. And I'm like, well, that job was whack, and I have new ideas. I have new ambitions. And I've since just pivoted, and even starting Black Joy Parade was a different thing for me. And that's just an example of one way in which you sometimes you're going to have to be the first one. And even though my parents, I love them to death, they've inspired me and been the most amazing supportive parents, sometimes I'm the first for them, they have to get used to it too. And so I just, like I said, encourage you all to think about your own path, and know that it's going to be hard sometimes, but you can do it, you could find your own path.
Okay, so then this question is for Elisha. So then, in what ways do you think the Black Joy Parade has transformed Oakland for the better of our community? And of course, Ayana, you can always feel free to answer that.
I would love Ayana's answer. I can just give my kind of humble opinion about it. When I had the idea of Black Joy Parade, I for real thought it was going to be 1,000 people. I was we're going to have a parade for Black people. I'm going to get my friends. We're going to get some drums. We're going to walk down these streets. And then I was quickly told, what you're not going to do is do something without a permit and official kind of you're not going to get a Black event shut down by the city. But I still didn't think a lot of people would come. And I think because in the past, the biggest event in Oakland really was Art and Soul, and, and the biggest free events were probably 2,000 people maybe. So I think even my expectations of the organization were pretty low. And then to have 18,000 people the first year, I think if you saw videos of me, I was bawling, like, oh my God, the people, where did they come from? Like, and I think everyone was shocked. Everyone was like, oh my gosh. And I think I can humbly say that it like leveled up events in Oakland. I think it showed people what can happen, what's possible in this town when people work together, the quality of experiences that the Black community truly deserves, and that you can do it and it still be free. I think that there was an expectation that if you're going to do something that, wonderful and beautiful, then it's going to be like Coachella, it's going to be $500 ticket. But it can be free, it can be family friendly, it can be safe, and it can still be that beautiful. And so I've seen even in the 5 years, other organizations and events pop up that I know were inspired by what we've done at Black Joy Parade. And so that, I think for me, that's the biggest thing. And another thing that people don't realize about Black Joy Parade, it's like an economic machine. So like I was saying about the vendors, all these vendors sell out every single year, right? And that's a day, they don't normally sell out like that. And we put our money in so many Black artists' pocket, and it's a lot of like revenue generated in Oakland through Black Joy Parade. And so I think that's another thing, is to think of community service as actually economic building as well. I hope that Black Joy Parade is contributing to that.
And did you want to touch a little bit about Warriors' work in the community as well, or any response there?
Yeah, sure. First, I want to comment on Black Joy Parade. I think that it also gives people, like, I love Black Joy Parade. I remember the first year they had it, I went, and like, it gives you something to look forward to.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it's people like all different ages. There's like kids in the parade, and there's like elders, and like everyone is there for the same common purpose, just to spread a bunch of joy. Like, it's an indescribable feeling. I hope you all go with your families this year, but I think it gives people an expectation of things to look forward to, and you can say that we can also congregate safely, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a misnomer that like, oh, when a bunch of Black people are together, oh, you don't know what's gonna happen. And I think we've shown that we can celebrate together in harmony and with a lot of excitement, and support businesses too, because I think that's also a misnomer. Like, Black people don't support Black people, but like, it shows that we actually do. And so I had a really good time. If you see me on the earlier end of Black Joy Parade, because there's a lot of cool,
family friendly.
yeah, there's a lot of cool activations. No, but it's an incredible job, and Elisha has done an incredible job putting it together.
But you should talk about the
Warriors.
Yeah, you should talk about the Warriors.
So we're here, which is exciting. And I think I was super, jaded about the Warriors platform, because I'll be honest with you, all my close friends know, like, I've never seen a celebrity fanned out cry. Like, I'm just like, I like concerts, but I like very small, like intimate concerts, not like really big ones. Cause I'm like, if it's too big, like I can watch YouTube and get the same experience in my home. And so I was just jaded about, like, I didn't realize like the platform that these players have, and like people really like listen to them. Like, it is incredible. Like, when I was in OUSD, we were having trouble with students filling out the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid. And we asked the Warriors, this is when I was an employee for OUSD, we asked the Warriors, can Steph Curry do a video encouraging students to fill out the FAFSA form? We were at 48% completion in the district. We ended that year with 86% completion. I'm not gonna say Steph did it all, but it definitely didn't hurt, right? And so when I think about that, and so when I came to the Warriors, I was like, aha, we have incredible players that care about community. When I think about the work that Steph is doing, and Clay and Draymond, even our newer players like Gary Payton II and Jordan Poole, and just like their love for people and community and wanting to do more, like they actually truly do care, right? And they want to invest, and they want to come to events that support folks. I was just talking to a player and their parents the other day, and they're like he wants to do stuff around like literacy, which is super cool, right? And so like, how do, like, my job and jobs of many people on different teams is like to connect players with really cool, impactful experiences that inspire hopefully you all and communities to do something. And so I love the Warriors. I'm not just saying that because we're here. I think they're the best team in the NBA, and I hope, when this airs, we're at the championship. With the championship game. But no, it's an incredible organization with incredible people that really, really do care. And even though we're in San Francisco, what we say is really true. We left a building, not a city. I'm from Oakland, so I make sure everything that we do, Richie knows, there's an Oakland emphasis. I'm like, how can we make this Oakland? How can we make sure we do both sides of the Bay, because we care about, young people in the Bay Area. So it's important.
Are we allowed to ask questions?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Yes.
I would like to know what you wish that organizations did more for youth in Oakland. Because we're just saying what we think it does, but like, what is it that you wish there was more of?
I honestly wish that organizations could go to schools and talk about it, like middle schools, because I didn't really know much about this before this, so I'm honestly happy that I get a chance to learn about it. But I wish that people who don't have opportunities like this, like the rest of the people in our school, get to learn about this and about like how these are impacting Oakland and things like that. Like the Black Joy Parade, I know lots of kids don't know about that. So yeah.
Okay.
And then can I also answer? Okay. I guess like from experiences like being like a youth organizer myself, I guess maybe like organizing. How can, even though there's like specific like organizations already fighting for like a healthy and sustainable Earth, I wish like there'd be like more organizations advocating for like a healthy and sustainable future for like all of us here and youth in general and like future generations to come. So I guess that's really.
I would wish that a lot of people, like when they say or even do something, they would follow up and try to do more. So, like, for example, if you say something that you want to have done, for example, make a healthy earth, like Chris said, like follow up, keep on doing more things. Because if you don't, it feels a little performative. For us and
Come
me as a
on.
person. So I really hope that that's what people can do, because when people do that, other people listen.
Yeah.
And a lot of people want to make change when that happens. So that'd be really great if people could just do that so that others would listen.
Follow up and follow through.
I know, I love that. Not performative. Look at
Yeah.
you. Y'all are
Thank
Let
you.
it be known.
killing it.
Alright, yeah.
She's like, ask my question.
We've been talking, about Oakland, and I wanted to shift the conversation over to creative process, right? Especially around community building. Corey, why don't you kick us off with that first question?
Well, I just wanted to know how you use your creative process to like help shape Oakland, and then how Oakland shapes you, and how that affects you and your creative process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in my day job, in my career, I'm in marketing. So my whole life is a creative process, including my actual personal life. You never know what's going on. And I would say that my creative process is really collaborative. Although I might have one vision, like I want to do a parade. How it's going to happen, who's there, it doesn't come to life until I get with other people and have everybody throw their ideas in the hat and then figure out what, the things that rise to the top, if you will. And so that's exactly how Black Joy Parade was born. I had an idea, like I want to gather thousands of Black people for positivity, but where it was going to be in Oakland, which is a whole debate, who's going to be in it, like what's going to be on the stage, what art are we going to show, that was a collective. That was everybody's ideas coming together. And I think if I have one talent, it's recognizing a good idea and being open to them, right? And so when you're lucky enough to get all these people collaborating, being able to say, okay, that's the idea, like, or that's the art, that's the one we're gonna do, so that everyone feels heard, but also that you're not doing everything at once, right? That you can actually find the thing that's gonna make the biggest difference. So that's the same process that I have in my job in marketing: is get all the creatives in the room, give them what the assignment is, give them what the project is, and then figure out what the best idea is gonna be that is a collaboration of everybody. So it would be the same. I would say that Oakland is a collaborative city. I think I could say that. It feels that way.
Yeah, I like that. My creative process always starts at night. I'm a night owl. So I love, it's not the morning, it's the nighttime where I do the best work and the best thinking if I have an idea. And like Elisha, I love collaborating with other people. I think it's so important just to get the geniuses from so many different people. And we all have blind spots. And so talking to somebody about an idea is always helpful for me, because it'll have me thinking about something I didn't necessarily think about before. So collaboration is also key. And I think also too, it's also collaboration is important, but then knowing when to turn off somebody else's voice is also important, right? Because it's this is my project. Yes, I'm going to collaborate with other people, but I also have to know about when I feel a certain way about something. It's like leaning into my instinct. And as I've gotten older, I've definitely gotten more wise around and had more discernment around. Ooh, that's maybe that's not where I was really going with that, and just this is the direction I want to go.
Yeah.
Did you have a question you want to ask?
Yeah, this one's for Elisha. What point in your life would you say that you found your creative power or process?
What point in my life?
Hmm
27 was a good year.
Yes. So
I
you're
don't
the
know why
seven.
that number came to mind, but 27 was a really good year. I think, I don't know that I found my creative power, but I found my voice. And that allowed me to be clear about what my ideas were, to ask people for help so they could be collaborative, to tell people, no, we're done, when, when it was moving on to new ideas.
Yes.
So I don't know if that's my creative power, but I do think that, and I don't know what it is about 27. Like, I was out of college, I was like a little in my womanhood, I guess, but I wasn't, fully, I was still broke. So, finding your voice and power has nothing to do with getting money. I'll tell you that. Don't let anybody tell you that, because it doesn't. Some of the brokest people are the most creative people, for sure. So, yeah, I don't know why 27 came to mind, but that was a really golden year. I will say I've gotten better with age, for sure. Like, the older I get, the more creative I get, the more articulate I get about my creativity. And so then I can invite more people to join in ideas and share and create together. So it's not like it stopped at 27, but that seemed to be like a really good year for me. How old are you? Do you mind me asking?
I'm 12.
You're 12. Yeah. 12 wasn't that year for me. Wasn't that year, no.
Yeah, and by all means, feel free to jump in if any questions, come up. Feel free to ask as well. Melvin, how about you? What's the question you have?
So my question is for like the plans that didn't go as planned. How did you deal with the struggles, and what did you do to fulfill that plan, even if it totally didn't work out at all the first time?
Talk about this with not going to New York first.
I know. Yeah, I think about New York, but I also think about I moved back to California in 2016 for a job. My parents were like, hey, you should move back. You've been in New York for some time. So I moved back here and I started from a job, who I will not mention. And it was horrible. I hated it. I didn't like it. There was absolutely nothing about it. I didn't get along with my supervisor. And I was like, why did I leave New York? I love New York. I mean, I love Oakland, but I loved New York. I love the team that I worked with. Like, I just really loved the experience. And like my parents, they're like, I think it's now the gig economy is very still new. And at that time, 2016, like it was still very much not in the place that it is now. And so when I told my mom I wanted to leave my job, she was like, you're going to leave what? It was like 6 months in. I was like, I can't leave this place. Like I'm like literally unhappy being here. Like I cannot stay here anymore. And we had a series of difficult conversations. And I just told myself, Ayana, just stay there a year. Make it to a year so your resume won't look too crazy that you left 6 months after leaving New York. And so I left 2 days after my year anniversary from that job. And that was like the best. And I'm not by no means telling people to leave their job, but I think you have to, like Elisha said, find your voice, know when love is not being served at that table, and know when it's time to get up. Love was not served at that job. It was time for me to go. And I think that my life and just my career trajectory did right after I left that job, because I got clear about who I was and how I was going to show up to work and how I wanted to be treated, and I felt like that wasn't the place that was going to help me fulfill my wildest dreams. And so, again, like I tell you, if love is not being served, get up.
Yeah. I am a insane Virgo lady, and I write plans for everything, like the grocery store pattern, and when I was 12, I wrote my 25-year plan of what I was going to accomplish by 25, because I told you I'm insane. And I proceeded to do something similar like every few years, and it never comes true. Like parts of it do, but mostly I just like erase it, like write something different. And that's just life, But for me, it's important to have goals. Like it's important to have visions of like, oh, one day I'd love to. And along the way, if it changes, it's probably for the better, because it's taken me. So part of my 25-year plan when I was 12 was that I was going to go to Peace Corps. I had this neighbor, back to you can't be who you can't see. I had this neighbor who went to the Peace Corps, and I was like, oh, Chrissy's so cool. Like, I'm trying to get a Chrissy. I'm trying to go to the Peace Corps. And I signed up and everything. And then about a month before I was supposed to leave, I was supposed to go to Haiti. There was a crazy earthquake. And so they canceled the mission altogether. And I was like, I'm having a beginning of life crisis. What am I going to do with myself? Like, I graduated college early to go. It was like all part of this plan. And instead I moved to San Francisco. I decided to move to San Francisco and go to art school. And I mean, I don't think I would have never moved to Oakland. had that not happened, I would have never started Black Joy Parade. I would have never met the friends I met in the Bay. I would have never gotten my job in advertising started. I mean, all that happened because I didn't get to go to Peace Corps. I still sometimes dream of going to Peace Corps, but I know that I wouldn't trade the life I have now for that opportunity. And that's kind of what happens. You know, I think if you decide to pivot or life makes you pivot, it's always for a reason. There's always something better for you on the other side of that, and you just got to have faith in that. If you're a good person and your intentions are good and you're working really hard, it's going to work out for the best. And I do have a 50-year plan going on right now, like when I'm 50. So we'll see.
Now, what question do you have?
This is for both of you. As young kids, when you were younger, did you have any role models or like inspiration to get you to the point you're at right now?
I could start. I kind of talked to my mom already, so my mom has been a constant source of inspiration and strength. But I also think about my aunt. So my auntie was a lawyer, so that's why I was like, I wanted to be a lawyer, and it was really cool. She was a criminal justice attorney. She's now since started a tech company, but at the time she was a criminal justice attorney, and she used to take me with her to court. And so when I used to come back from like vacations, people were like, what'd you do? I was like, oh, I spent time in court, like, you know, with my aunt. But she used to have me like literally sit in the courtroom with her and like write full on reports. This is old school typewriter days. Y'all know nothing about typewriter. And she used to literally make me write reports on what I learned. She used to make me read evidence that, you know, she would get from investigators and say, hey, write a summary on what you read. What do you think? Do you think that this person's guilty? Do you think that they're innocent? But I just think about just the process of like doing that, and like made me a more critical thinker. And I am now. I analyze the crap out of everything. That's probably to my demise sometimes. But I think about like it was really born out of like my aunt like sitting there with me, and I literally loved to do it. It wasn't like a burden. I was always like, I want to go to my aunt's house. Any vacation that I got, and she has since still has been and has started now, you know, took her love for being an attorney and has now formed a tech company, you know, focused on, you know, reducing bail for folks and stuff like that, and has done goodwill with it. So I just think about that a lot.
This is a funny question because we're old enough that there was no social media growing up, and so our heroes were our family because that's all we knew. There was no other people scrolling and looking at their lives. I have 3 people, all my family. First was my granny, my dad's mom. She had this way of making everybody feel special. Like I felt like I was her favorite. My cousin felt like she was her favorite. Like all 20 of us were like, I'm her favorite. I'm her favorite. And that was she just had this really amazing way of listening to me. And I try to emulate her in my life to really listen to people, especially people that are younger than me, because I don't think that they get listened to and like their opinions get validated the way that adults do sometimes. So that's her. And then my mom is the second one. My mom made way more money than my dad growing up. She was also the cook, the clean. I have an amazing father. He's one of my heroes too, but that was at a time when that wasn't normal, that women were sort of like the head of households financially. And she moved us to Sacramento for her job, which was like, you know, everyone's like, oh, how could you take the family, you know? And for her bravery to be the first one and to do that, and it really like helped our family a lot. And so my mom, and then the other person was my little sister. So like all different generations. My sister is a Pisces, so she's the opposite of me. She's like flowy and like, you know, and she and she has a really good way of knowing when to stop doing something. I think a lot of question comes, how do you get started? How do you keep going? But it's hard to know like when is enough enough? Like when do you create boundaries? When do you decide to move on? And my sister's really honest about that, and she's just lived her life with her own intentions and in her own truth, even since she was little. And I try to sort of be less manic and crazy and try to be a little bit more like her and kind of go with the natural flow of life a little bit. So I would say all 3 generations of women in my life have guided the person I am today.
Okay, so then this question is for both of you. But then what motivates and empowers your community organizing? Because definitely for me, I guess it can feel like very like draining, and it can be like it's a lot of hard work in a lot of aspects to like look at. So then what motivates you to like continue community organizing and stuff like that?
It is a lot of work.
It is. It is tons of work. And I think one of the things I said before is like staying in Oakland, right? I think you become so desensitized if you move somewhere else and you visit to go to church or like, because you have your favorite restaurants, you come to Oakland for those moments. But like to live here every day, I think it motivates me. You all seeing your beautiful, bright faces, you don't even know when life's going to hit you yet. But like seeing you all and knowing that we want, I think I can speak for Richie and Elisha, we want something better and greater for you all. And if we can avoid some fires that we in our life have seen and can say, hey, watch out for that. That's not, you don't want to cross that fire. We definitely want to be that kind of bridge for you all. And I think also like knowing that like I have like cousins and I have aunts and uncles that like aren't necessarily successful in the way corporate America deems success. And so also wanting to like support them, right? And making sure that I'm, creating generational wealth for like my kids that I'm going to have one day, if God says the same, but then also, for my cousins and empowering them and like, helping my cousins. I was just seeing my cousin 2 weeks ago and she graduated from college and like literally is doing absolutely nothing. And it like bothers me so much because she hasn't found her power. And I'm like, you just graduated from college, right? But then also like being able to like help her like sit down with her resume, like, hey, what do you want to do? Let's figure it out. I'm always the one like, let's move. Like we got to do something. Like, and I think I get that from my mom and my aunt. And so all of that fuels me, my family, and you all just to want better for everyone.
It's fun. It's really hard work. It's really, really hard work. And it's frustrating work often, and you feel like you're like climbing up a hill, but it's really fun. Like to get to, Black Joy Parade's in like 18 days or something insane. We have a countdown on our website that I'm like, why did we put this countdown here? It's so stressful. And I was just telling Vanessa and Ayana, like I'm bombarded with requests and emails, but I'm trying to tell you that day is like worth a whole year of hard work. Like, and I think that the kind of work that's truly meaningful makes you feel that way. Like it's hard, but it's hard in the best way. It's like when you're training for something, it's like, and then you run the race and you're like, I did it. So that might seem kind of selfish, but it's really fun. It's really gratifying to help. It's really gratifying to create smiles on other people's faces and make them happy and get to know that you contributed to someone else's happiness. And as a part of contributing to your own is, there's nothing like it. So whatever kind of work you do, I know that it's probably frustrating day to day, but the moments where you're like, oh yeah, that was good. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can definitely like add on like definitely the day of like an action or like the march. Seeing like the outcome, seeing everybody like protesting, seeing like everybody like chanting, it's definitely like very rewarding. Seeing like all the hard work and all the Zoom calls and all that stuff. It's like definitely like very rewarding to see everything in action.
I know we're at our time. I wanted to make sure to ask just one question, especially for the youth here in front of us now, but also those at home. If youth want to make an impact today, what can they do? What can they be doing? How can they get involved? How can they make a difference in the world today?
That's a really big question. Should I
You
start?
start.
I actually don't know the answer to that. That's a really hard one. I don't think that everyone's cut out to solve everything in the world. And I think that's a mistake and unfair pressure that we put on ourselves as adults and as youth, that like, you have to save the world. You can't by yourself. That's just real. And you shouldn't have to, right? So I would say the first thing is just like, what are you passionate about? Like, what do you want to see that's different in the world? And then you can decide how you can make a difference. To your point about the sustainable, if that's what you're passionate about, there's lots of ways to make an impact and get involved in that. And it starts, I know this is so cliche, but like baby steps. When I started Black Joy Parade, the first thing I did was call my sister and like, I want to have a parade. She was like, okay, you're weird. And I'm like, great, I'm gonna go down to this coffee shop and ask them if I can meet with some friends here next week. And then I made this horribly ugly Facebook invite that had this horrible clip art, and 10 people came, and they were all people I knew, and then it grew, and now it's 25,000 people, and I know it's cliche, but it really just starts with like one small thing. But I think first deciding what it is that you want to do, and there's a world of things that you can have an interesting impact on. So.
Yeah, no, I would definitely agree with that. I think we put unfair pressure because the world is so changing. And so what I think might be impactful, actually 6 months, a year, 5 years from now might look totally different. And so I think being kind to yourself, like I think sometimes we often give ourselves these huge goals that feel like you can't accomplish them. And so we're like, oh my God, I didn't do it. Like, oh, you know what I mean? And I think just be kind to yourself, give yourself grace. And, we all have a different role to play. There's going to be people that, build and curate amazing experiences like parades. There's going to be people that picket and start, marches and stuff for people. There's going to be people that are researchers and want to do the policy stuff. There's going to be people that's going to be like, let's go get a drink because we need to just celebrate and enjoy just being and living in this earth. All of those people matter. We need all those people to live and sustain ourselves. And so just figure out how you want to be and how you want to operate in the world. And I think that's good enough. And just be a good person. Like, I think just like the basic human, like I tell people, the basic level of a person you can be is just to be a kind person to people. I think that we overlook being kind to people. I try to, and when I'm walking down the street, people probably look at me crazy because I say good morning to everyone walking down the street, because the basic humanity I can give you is a hello, good morning, is a greeting. You know what I mean? That just changed somebody's whole day because we never know what people are going through. So just think about how you want to operate in the world, and I think you'll be A-okay.
Someone told me when I was younger, try to be the person you want to be best friends with. And I think that when I'm acting raggedy, I'm like, I want to be friends with me? No, stop talking crap. Stop it.
With that, I want to say thank you so much to KDOL, to OUSD, Ayana, Elisha, Vanessa. Thank you so much for helping me put all this together. And Elle, why don't you go ahead and take us away?
Thank you for joining us today on the Town Talks, and a special thanks to our guests Ayana Moody and Elisha Greenwell. We'd also like to thank the Golden State Warriors, Edna Brewer Middle School, Oakland High School, Oakland in the Middle, KDOL, and our host Richie Nunez. See you next time.